So like Larry said, I am the VP of sales for PDF Seal and Modern Packaging Equipment. But in addition to my role at those two organizations, I also lead our pet care solutions group for ProMach. And really, I'm here today to talk a little bit about the innovations that we've developed for our pet care clients, as well as innovations that can be used outside of those specific vertical markets. But really, they were developed with pet care brands, manufacturers in mind. So before I jump into the innovations, I did want to take a little bit of time and explain ProMach and how the vertical market strategy is used. So if some of you might know us, some may not, but ProMach is a global leader in process packaging technologies. So, we like to say there's not a spot in the grocery store that you can't find a product that was touched by a ProMach brand, whether that's, personal care, protein, IQF, dairy, whatever. There's a ProMach brand that probably can either blend, package, palletize some sort of that product. And the way we do this, and we engage with large CPGs, is based on our general manager-led business model. ProMach continues to acquire companies at a pretty staggering rate, year over year. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to add to our product portfolio. And right now we sit at 54 brands that are general manager led, like I said, but we break them into 9 specific business units. And those business units are really around applications. So out on the far right there, you can see our systems and process group would handle anything from mixing and blending. And it also contains our integration company, Zarpak. So as you look through the different business units, they are grouped by their application, but that doesn't mean a lot to an actual end user or a manufacturer. So in the last several years, we've kind of had feedback that how do I deal with this massive organization that can supply all this quality equipment? There's 54 brands right now. How do I get a production line done? Who do I go to? Who's my contact? So essentially what we've done, we've taken a proactive approach and organized these 54 brands into vertical market teams. So as I said before, I lead the ProMach Pet Care Group, which isn't 54 brands. It's now been shrunk down to 16 brands that really have a product line, industry expertise, application knowledge around pet care solutions. And this really is an approach that ProMach is beginning to roll out, not just for pet care, but for other vertical markets. But we're going to continue to have our general manager-led business model where we can keep close to the customer, have a wealth of knowledge at the individual brands, but consequently form ourselves into teams that are really application and product specific for our customers. So we can utilize this organization, and right now we have set out to start analyzing markets, and we've landed on 4 vertical markets. Right now, pet care, as I mentioned. There's a liquid foods team, which are composed of different organizations than the pet care market. We also have wine and distilled spirits as well as ready-to-drink coffee. So again, each one of these has industry experts, application knowledge, products that are specific to the applications that you would find for these vertical market teams. Looking back to the pet care side of things, right now we can look at a solution from a few different ways. We can look at it from blending and processing, or we can look at it from a standpoint of discrete equipment. If you're a manufacturer and you need to replace a simple piece of equipment to improve your line efficiencies, we can do that. Or we can take it a step further. We can organize ourselves and deliver small integrated solutions, cellular lines. That might include 1, 2, or 3 pieces of equipment. We can even take it a step further through Zarpak and do a complete turnkey line from engineering through speccing equipment, development of the solution through implementation and startup. So when we start talking about how do we go to market and what can we do for a client, it's ultimately based on what their need is. But the pet care group will bring forth the right resources to achieve what your project's attempting to survive. If I go into pet care as a whole, there's even more challenges because that's a very broad market base. We define it as anything, a pet food manufacturer, a pet care manufacturer would do. We've actually developed simulated lines. You can see those over in our booth at 3500. There's a big animation section. So in this case, if you are a manufacturer of dry food, you can go up to the animation, find those 4, 5, 6 ProMach brands that specialize in a kibble line, for example. Or you could go see a wet food line. Point being is, we still take those 16 brands and organize them down into even smaller groups based on application. So popping ahead and really, what has this group been able to achieve? The first thing I'll start with really is what we call double seam monitoring. This was a innovation developed by a company, Zochmi, that ProMach has recently acquired. And Zochmi is a leader in global canning. So when they were brought into the ProMach family and we were talking about this, they were a natural fit for the pet care group. So when we were talking about innovations, they were very excited to share DSM. And effectively, what DSM is a way for us to capture data, monitoring outputs of a seamer in line. So this is not a third-party solution. Zochmi actually developed this in-house, and the purpose of DSM is to prevent any intrusive QC processes you may have. These are inline active processes. So what the system does, it actually measures the pressures all around the seam based on each head of the seamer. So if there's any debris, contaminants, it's going to notice a change in the pressure signature. If there's a bad lid, if there's bad consumable product into the lid or the seam, it's going to show up on this. The system actually works by gathering data at each head level. So we can tell if the product is good. You can tell if the head is trending towards a need for maintenance. And it's really a central repository for production information around the seamer. Again, it's based on Zochmi's technology. Zochmi has integrated this solution. And it's really a powerful tool, not just from the idea of rejecting cans in line where you're not going to have to pull off and do quality control batches. It will actually reject the can in line if a defect is noted. So as the process continues to gather data, it'll actually alert folks in the maintenance department if there's a trend for a head going bad. So you can schedule your preventive maintenance ahead of time as opposed to waiting for a failure and taking action. So again, part of the integration of the line really is a solution to reject cans. We can track them, and this stops you from having to pull batches off and test cans. Popping over to probably the most logical step next for a pet food solution would be anybody doing anything with wet food, you're probably going to have to go through some sort of retort process. And Allpacks, which is ProMach's retort group, they've actually developed something called ImmersaFlow. And what ImmersaFlow is, really, it's a technology that utilizes the trays themselves as the immersion vessel. So instead of using older technology where it's a gravity-fed kind of waterfall across the product to get it up to temperature and to bring it back to temperature, pre and post cook, the actual process is to pressurize the trays. And once you do that, that allows for really, really good temperature dispersion across all the product. And when that occurs, we can greatly reduce the come-up time of the product to get it to the cook temperature. By doing that, we've done a few studies, and we've seen changes where come-up times were ranging from 15 to 20 minutes, and they've been down as low as 4 to 8 minutes. So that's a substantial reduction in time required to get the product up to the position where it's able to be cooked. So you can see in the graph, the amount of time that you can save by using ImmersaFlow technology. Conversely, it also helps in the come down time. So when we start looking at this, there's a substantial throughput increase that using ImmersaFlow technology, you can really speed up your process or, probably use fewer vessels, save some floor space in order to heat and cool your product and get it up to cook. You can see on the right there, the waterfall technology uses an incredible amount of water resources. So again, if we have these shortened retort times, you're saving on energy, you're saving on water, and this is obviously the trend that we have to, adhere to for environmental reasons in the U.S. I'm going to switch it up now. I'm going to go from canning, and we're going to move over to Bartelt. Bartelt is actually a company that does horizontal form, fill, and seal. And this would have a fit somewhere in either wet food, treats, small bags of dry kibble. And really, Bartelt is, innovating with a technology using linear magnetic motors to move product through the system. What I mean by that is, generally speaking, when you have a horizontal pouching machine, you're going to have a fixed pitch machine. And that's really going to limit the size of the product, the range of the product you can run. So we've heard from a lot of manufacturers that they need flexibility. They might need to run a 3-ounce product and then turn around the next day, run a 5 or 6-ounce product, 10 ounce, it doesn't matter, but there's a change in the size of the pouch. And when that occurs, there is a substantial amount of changeover with a fixed pitch machine. Using the linear mag movers, they're able to automatically adjust the pitch between the machines. So it's all done through software. So what they've been able to do is still maintain a high speed production of bags as well as filling them in a much smaller pitch, or I'm sorry, much smaller footprint, because they can adjust the pitch of the bags. And they've taken it a step further. If you head over to their booth, you can actually see they've taken their long mag machine and added a rotary filler at the end of it. So they've created a system that's really, really versatile from a standpoint of throughput, speed, and a very small footprint. And again, these are all requests we're seeing more and more in the industry when people want variance in packaging size. So unless you're really dedicated to a very long run of a particular product, utilizing technology like the linear mag movers gives us the ability to really meet that need for our pet care companies. So staying within the realm of flexible packaging, I think we're all hearing it. If you're in the flexibles, we need recyclable film. We need things that are compostable. And there's a push all through the US and Europe to hit a certain deadline to have this film out there readily available in the market. So Bartel's sister company, Matrix, really specializes in vertical form, fill, and seal, but they've taken an aggressive approach towards working with big CPGs as a pilot or a test lab. So if, as a CPG or as a manufacturer, if you come up with a film and you're like, I need to understand if this will work on my current machine, this technology, Matrix spends time with our clients looking at their films and understanding, can the new films that are meeting the environmental constraints that are being put on manufacturers, can those films also produce at current rates? And what I mean by that is there's a chance that the films, when you remove a sealant layer, they do not produce as fast and at the current production speeds you're used to. So we're looking at technologies. In this case, I can't disclose a whole lot, but there's a variable heater bar. So in the scenario where you might need variable heat across the film where you have multiple layers and you need a specific area heated, they're looking into that technology. Additionally, they're really looking at, is this the technology for the future to be able to meet the production rates that are needed? So today's vertical form, fill, and seal machine might be totally different from tomorrow's. But the point being is, if you're looking at compostable films, recyclable films, you need to reach out to an organization like Matrix to make sure that the technology is there for you to run at the proper production speeds that you're used to. I'm going to flip from verticals over to a more rigid product. The Pace VersaSort. So Pace is the sorting company, descrambler company for ProMach. And they've really spent a lot of time developing a pretty inventive approach to this. There's definitely other robotic unscramblers out there, but the VersaSort really offers the highest throughput per robot anywhere out there. And really the driving factor in this is they're using vision and line tracking and a pretty unique carrier method to position the bottles before they head off to filling and labeling. But the point being is, we've heard this idea that we need to save footprint. We need easier changeover for operators. By switching to a robotic solution and integrating the changeover right into the HMI, the VersaSort's really achieved a lot of those goals. It's smaller footprint, easier to use, and offers a very high throughput. The studies that we've done really compare a 2-bot system on the VersaSort to what would be 4 or 5 robots for other manufacturers. And this really, again, gives us back footprint and ease of use for the operator. So I'm going to pop over to ID Technology, and this is ProMach's labeling and coding group. So if some of you are familiar with them, they'll do inkjet, they'll do high resolution, and really they've spent some time developing what we call the CarbonFlex. And the CarbonFlex is really what it is in its name. If you're familiar with traditional print and apply applicators, it tends to be a pneumatic cylinder or electric driven cylinder, and those things tend to wear over time. right? So the CarbonFlex doesn't exhibit those issues of any maintenance needed from a standpoint of adjusting flow, pressure, whatever it may be. And in addition, those tamps are powerful. They could potentially hurt somebody. They could be pinch points. Utilizing a carbon flexible material is literally what it is. They're able to use a servo because the carbon material is so light, and that servo can be driven at an incredibly fast rate. So utilizing the servo, we can do a front, side, tamp. It doesn't really matter to the CarbonFlex. So when that arm extends, the servo actually gives feedback to say I've either reached the front of the box or the side of the box. So the material is so light, it can be accelerated at a very high rate compared to a tamp or traditional electrical mechanical mechanisms to apply labels. Going a step further, again, it's a safety benefit where you're not going to have any pinch points, anything somebody could get hurt utilizing this technology. It's very lightweight. It's just like a little slap if you would touch it. But where it really benefits pet care is if you're running a box of cans, whether it's a bag of kibble, whatever it may be, you can just send random product down the line and the CarbonFlex will just automatically adjust to the product as it comes in. And it's not a software setting, it's really just feedback from that servo mechanism. I'm gonna go one more here. So I'm just gonna wrap up with, we have a complete vertical market section over at the ProMach booth in S35. I'd invite you to stop in, take a look at the different applications that we have. If you find something that you want more information about, grab one of the hosts. If you have specific questions about some of the equipment you've seen here, you can go directly to that booth. And we have a QR code to scan if you'd really want to get more information on some of the pet care items that I've shared here today.